Hey guys, this is AI Gaming 1776 and we are going to do a couple of things in this video. First of all, we're going to discuss how the RX 480 can play Fallout 4, and we're going to show you how to disable VSync in the game in case you don't know how, because there's no toggle in the options menu. A lot of people don't know how to disable VSync, so we'll go over that in this video also. Alright, so here's the deal. This is my third Fallout 4 video. The first time I tested Fallout 4 with an RX 480, I thought the game played pretty well, and I shared as much. I did a few hours of testing, and I was pretty satisfied that the RX 480 could play the game pretty well, and I stated as much in my video. Now, the thing is someone in the comments asked me to play the game with another processor, so I did, and it turns out the game played much worse. So then what I did was I played it with yet another processor. I have several test systems that I can use, and it played worse. And it kind of led me down a rabbit hole. So I made a second video, and in that video I asked you guys, how does the game play for you and what hardware are you using? And it turns out that this game, when you're using an RX 480, can have it can be a different experience on different systems. That's probably the easiest way to say it, but it seems like the common thread is Skylake systems can play the game better. Now, I don't have a Skylake i5 to test the Skylake i5, but this is a Skylake i7 system, alright? So let's get into this. Options, 1080p, Ultra. It was already on Ultra, but I'm just going to show you that it is on Ultra. We're going to hit play, and I'm going to show you really quickly. I've got one or two spots I can go to. I'm going to show you that on this system, we're going to have no trouble at all. Now, this is the system that I used the very first time. Here, let me get rid of the exit saves. For some reason, exit saves are causing me problems. The game can crash sometimes when it tries to load one. I don't know if you guys have been having that problem, but it's just the exit saves. Alright, so let's load up Diamond City. Alright, now this is actually the system I used the first time I tested the RX 480. And I put a couple days into it, and I was pretty satisfied. I said, you know what, this RX 480, it does a good job. Alright. So here we are, we're in Diamond City. VSync is on right now. What we'll do is we will exit the game and we'll reload it without VSync. And that's when I'll show you how to disable it. So here we are in Diamond City. We're staying at 60 frames per second. It's flickering a little bit, but it's not going below 60. And if it does, it might go down to like 57 or something, but it's more or less a 60 FPS experience. 59. Just went to 59. Like I said, it's a little bit of fluctuating. It's not perfect, but overall pretty good, right? So if you watch my second video where I show you, by the way, I don't know, I didn't mention that. In the second video I showed you guys that, like, yeah, I'm getting bad performance with these other systems. So, again, this is the third video. There we go. It went down to 59 frames per second one time, alright? In that previous video, it went into the 40s, I'm pretty sure. Maybe as low as 45, definitely went into the 50s, and I think it went into the 40s. And it was these wild swings in frame rate. In that second video, the whole time I had the game uncapped, so I had VSync off. Alright, so here, we need to go over here, and this was another area. This is right outside the Corvega plant, okay, if you've played this game. So let me turn on this gun right here, or equip it, I should say. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't aim too well at this game. I know in the last I know in the last video I blamed it on I blamed it on the frame rate fluctuating so much, which yes, that does have an effect. But no, I'm just not so good at aiming in this game. I don't know what it is. Now, yeah, I do use a controller, but if you guys watch my videos, which I have hundreds of them on this channel, you guys will see, like, sometimes I'm doing okay with the aiming, sometimes I'm not, alright? So I'm not consistently crap at playing games. And by the way, the whole focus of this channel and what I do is I show you how hardware plays games, but for some reason a lot of people act put out if they have to watch me, I don't know, not be a savant at the games, right? Like I gotta be all MLG Pro, or else people seem to have a problem with it. Here's the thing, guys. I'm just trying to show you how games perform, right? Like, I buy this hardware with my own money. It's not free. I buy the games with my own money, and then I show you how it really performs as a real user. All right? There's a lot of times these guys are doing a half-baked job. They're given a free graphics card, they're given a free game code, and then they don't want to tell you that the game is playing badly, right? Because they got all that stuff for free. They want to keep getting it for free, so they don't tell you. All right, with all that out of the way, we have been locked at 60 frames per second. Now, this was another area where in that second video, I was getting really bad performance. It was going down into the 40s for sure in this area. All right, so really quickly, our max temperature that we've been up to so far is 62 degrees. I'm not sure if you can see that. We'll zoom in on it in a minute. All right, so really quickly, for some reason, on Skylake, the game plays really well. It was basically a 60 FPS experience at the Ultra preset. Now, when I made that first video and I said, hey, the game plays fine, it's because I had this experience, 1080p, 60 FPS, and it was like that for 2 days, several hours of gameplay, maybe even 3 days. I say several hours, it was like 3 hours, 2 or 3, somewhere in that range. Anyway, point being, the game seemed fine. And it was not until I used my Haswell processors that I had problems. Now, somebody in the comments suggested that Skylake would do better because Skylake uses DDR4 RAM. Now, is that the case? I don't know. Now, I used an overclocked 4690K at 4.2 gigahertz. It's not the biggest overclock in the world, but I still would have expected better performance than what I was getting. And then I used a 4790 non-K, both Haswell, both had problems. Anyway, so what you want to do is you want to go into your documents, all right, to get rid of VSync. Go into your documents and then go to My Games, go to Fallout 4, go to Fallout 4 Prefs, this bottom line down here, Prefs, it's probably short for preferences, I'd imagine. Then you want to go, at least on Windows 8, which is what we're using, to Edit, and then Find, and we're going to say Inspect. Actually, is it? Let's try Inspect. Or is it Interval? Let's see if it'll find Interval for me. Alright, it's I present interval equals 1. So sorry about that. So I present interval, right? Let me show you all over again. And I don't edit my videos. Alright, so just bear with me. Let's go into My Documents. Alright, go into Documents, go into My Games, Fallout 4, Preferences, Edit, Find, and then put in the word present. Alright, it's really I present interval, but present. And that'll take you down there to I present interval, okay? So what you want to do is that says 1 right now. Where we're at. I'll zoom in for you. Let me move the window and let me zoom in. Alright. Alright, I know you can see it now. So where we are is we're at the bottom of the screen. Alright, it's not at the very bottom, it's one line from the very bottom because I don't want to make it too confusing. Alright, so we're at the bottom down there. It says I present interval equals 1. Change that to 0 and now your VSync is gone. So go to File, Save. Alright, get out of there. Now don't worry, if you want to get rid of that, it's very easy. Okay, it's very easy to go back to normal on this. Okay. So go to Fallout 4. If you want to re-enable VSync, just go to Options and pick one of the graphics presets again, or just change the graphic settings. And when you do that, VSync comes back magically. Alright, so again, I present interval equals 1, change the 1 to 0. Alright, so as you can see, we're over, as you cannot see, let me back up. There we go. We're over 1,000 frames per second right now. Alright. And then when the game's super twitchy when you do that, alright? See how I'm trying to select load. There we go. Because if we do continue, it'll load the exit save. I don't want to do that. Alright, so now I'm going to show you with the frame rate cap off how well it can do. Alright. So Diamond City. Anyway, if you don't want to see how well it can do, this is basically the whole gist of the video is I'm showing you that it does perform better on a Skylake system. You can go back and watch the old video. And I was also showing you the frame rate you can expect on said Skylake system. Now, I don't have a Skylake i5, and I regret that because I know with the RX 480 people want to know how it performs with i5s. Unfortunately, I only have one i5 right now. Okay, so we're running around Diamond City 80, now it's 97, 98 frames, 100 frames per second, 96 frames, 97 frames per second. So not that bad. Now the frame rate does still dip like a mother. Like it goes down from 90, actually it's at 100 now. When you go over here, it can still go down to 60. See, there's something about this area over here that was triggering lower frame rates before. It's not doing it now. Now it's actually 170, but 172, it's flickering, 172, 173 frames per second. But the thing is I have seen it in this area go down to 60, and on my way over here it went to 65. Look, there it is at 61. See? The yellow number in the upper right hand corner, 61, it flickered to 62. So now it's 70. But that's still, when VSync is on, it's staying, as you saw earlier and as you can see now. It's pretty safe bet that you're going to have a 60 FPS experience. Now the problem is, again, this is an i7 processor. Will you get this experience with an i5? I don't know. So let me know in the comments, guys. Here's the thing. All right, somebody, actually more than one person, commented on the last video, and they were kind of rude, right? One person said, I don't deserve to have a YouTube channel if I have to ask my audience how games play for them. And here is my response to that, and I really hope you guys appreciate this response. By the way, we're right outside Diamond City in the fins. It's 59 frames per second as I aim right here, 60 frames per second, but I turn around, it's 100. So with VSync off, the frame rate's going to be all over the place, right? Now, would it be better if the CPU could be overclocked? I don't know. Would it be worse with the Skylake i5? I don't know. I don't have the i5. I'm probably gonna get one of the cheaper Skylake i5s for testing. I mean, it's hard, guys. I buy all this stuff with my own money, and I build these systems, and I currently use I use a 6700K, a 6700 non-K, a 4790 non-K, and I use these three chips in my 6700K. In case you don't know about the 6700K, here I'm going to walk and talk. In case you don't know about the 6700K, it's just about the best gaming processor that's out right now as of November 2016. All right, and mine overclocks to 4.7 gigahertz, and the 6700K by multiple outlets has proven to beat pretty much any processor on the market as of right now for gaming, especially if you can overclock it as high as mine does. All right, so I have that for when I want to make sure I don't have a bottleneck. For sure, make sure I don't have a bottleneck. But then I still use two other i7s. I use the 4790 because, believe it or not, that came in a ton of computers for like 2 years. Matter of fact, I actually have that processor from a Dell computer is how I got that. And I repurposed it into a computer that I built. Now, I use that 4790 because a ton of people actually have that processor. And they have questions about it. And it's really not that much of a bottleneck. It's a bottleneck on the high end. Like, if you're playing a game with a GTX 1080 and it could get 130 frames per second, maybe it'll only get 115 frames per second on the 4790, right? So you can argue it's a bottleneck. It's costing you 15 frames per second, but you're already over 100 frames per second, you know what I mean? So it's not like a bad bottleneck. It's not the kind of bottleneck that's going to make a game ruined for you, all right? So anyway, then I have the 4690K, and I went with the K because I actually underclocked that thing for some of my testing. It's naturally, I think, a 3.5. It's a 3.5 gigahertz base clock naturally, and I normally overclock it to 4.2 gigahertz because that's like a nice easy overclock that I think most people can get. But then I underclock it. So sometimes I'll leave it at 3.5, but then there's other times that I'll actually lock it to like 3.6 and not let it turbo, and I'll basically try to see, like, okay, even if the CPU is weakened, how does the game perform? Now, I say all that to say I've never run into this issue before where it mattered that I was using a Skylake processor, and I'm really surprised. I really am, because like I said, my 4690K is overclocked, and it struggles with this game. And then my 4790, which it doesn't, my 4790 doesn't struggle with any game. Not The Division, not GTA 5, not any game you can name. The 4790 is a solid CPU. And yet it struggles with this game. And even the 6700, it's going down to 59 frames per second in some spots, which is weird. Well, we just went down to 57. Just went down to 57. So anyway, I do need to get more processors, but the reason I'm saying this is hard, guys, is I use 4 Intel processors. Is it 4? Or is it only 3? 6700, 6700K, 4790, and then 4690K. Yeah, that's 4 Intel processors, and then I actually have an AMD FX 6300. And it never fails. I constantly have people that are like, okay, but how does it perform with this processor? And the thing is, you know, they're sometimes right to ask. Had that person not asked me in my first video, I would have just assumed the RX 480 plays this game fine. Because remember, this is a non-overclocked 6700 with a base clock at 3.4 gigahertz. And I just, honestly, I didn't think it would play the game so much better, but we're seeing like 15 frames per second better on the low end. Ooh, we just went to 45. We touched it. We touched 45. It didn't stay there. It barely flickered to it. Now we're at 56, 55. So here's the thing. Let me turn off some settings real quick. Let me turn off God rays and see if that helps. All right. Since we're already doing all this. By the way, if you leave VSync on, it usually stays around 60. It's when you uncap it that all this starts. By the way, the GPU high temperature has now been to 71. In case you're curious about all that, this is the XFX version of the 480, the GTR, the famous GTR. Anyway, oh yeah, we wanted to change the settings. So go back to Fallout 4. Go to options. Let's turn off God rays. I'm gonna turn off motion blur while I'm at it. Oh, we're gonna lose. We're gonna have to redo the frame rate. We're gonna have to redo the cap, the VSync, because we're changing a graphics setting. All right, God rays turn to. Let's just turn them off. I usually would put them at low when I'm really playing, but we're gonna turn them off. That way you guys don't have to watch me then turn them off. All right, what do we want to do? Yeah, we'll uncap the frame rate. So we're gonna go into documents. We're gonna go in it. Come on, my games, and then it's Fallout 4. The perfs down there. Find. I present. There it is. Easy as pie. It's down here. See, it changed itself back to 1. When you change the graphic settings, then VSync comes back. Alright, so save. I don't even do save as. I just tell it save. Alright, so play. Hopefully our settings are still where we just put them. I can't double check because then I'd have to undo the... oh, yeah. Because then I'd have to redo the VSync thing. It's like a Schrodinger's cat, however you say it. Y'all know what I mean. Alright, so load, get rid of the exit save, because no bueno. Alright. I guess we'll do Diamond City again. That's where we were. Come on, buddy. Very touchy. There we go. Alright, so we're going to go into Diamond City again, and really... it was about 70 to 90 frames per second most of the time, and it got up to like 120 in a couple spots. But we're going to see what it is now, because God Ray should be off. 60. Not inspiring, and it was actually as low as 59 already. Still 70, 80, 90. Pretty much the same performance, even with God Rays off. Assuming they're off. What we'll do is when the game ends, like when I get to, oh, 147 for 150. Of course, we're going in a tunnel, but still 472 frames per second on the loading screen. Alright, so here we go. We're going to go outside again. 94 frames per second, 71 frames per second. It's all over the place. Again, if you leave VSync on, you should have a more uniform experience. Alright, 50, it was 58, 59, now it's 60, 61. In case you guys forget, just a few minutes ago we were in this exact same spot, and it was about this frame rate. It was at 60. Although it did just go up to 65. Yeah, God rays are off, because normally God rays on the save file totally come through that tree. No God rays, but there is a sun flare, as you may be able to notice. Alright. Yeah, so they're off. 130 frames per second. I mean, this is all over the place, guys. All over the place. 140. Now, I forget where we just were, and I deleted that exit save when it was going below 50. I was talking and walking. Let's go to the map and see if I can have an easy guess. Nope. Where was it? Because I was walking in this direction, but I don't see anything on my map. Alright, there's a house there, but I'm not sure if it was this way. Anyway, game performs better on a Skylake i7 than it does on a Haswell i7, and even an here it is, I think it was this way, and even an overclocked Haswell i5. 80 frames per second, 90, 100, so maybe it wasn't over here. Look, the game's going to be playable, alright? That's, in case that matters to you guys, it's going to be playable with an RX 480. Now, if you don't care about the Ultra preset, you can try to turn some things down if you have another processor. But, I don't know, the game is touchy, right? It's going to be different for all of us. So, as I said before in the last video, go ahead and tell me in the comments how the game plays for you guys. But yeah, no, I remember what something I was going to say. So look, let me finish with this, and I meant to say this a few minutes ago. I meant to say this earlier. I think YouTube audiences are used to the YouTuber talking at them, or talking down to them, right? Like, hey, this is how it performs, and I'm right, and you're wrong, and blah, blah, blah. And the thing is most audience members watching the videos don't have all the hardware and games to test for themselves, so they kind of have to take the word of the YouTuber, right? Or like what they see on forums or whatever. It's a kind of a messy process, but usually the YouTuber, people look at it like they go to the YouTuber and the YouTuber tells them how things are. But sometimes the YouTuber is wrong. Or sometimes the YouTuber hasn't tested on enough hardware. Guys, I do my due diligence, alright? Like, I built 5 systems for this channel. And this slipped through the cracks on me because I didn't expect in a 3.4 gigahertz, mind you, non-K i7 to perform so much better than my Haswell chips. I didn't expect that. So, and by the way, the RAM in this is only 2400 megahertz. It's not blazing fast RAM by any means. I think it's really like the second stop for speed, right? Like, I think 2100 is the base for DDR4, and then 2400 is the next step up for most cases, I think, right? I think, anyway, point being, this is not blazing fast, expensive RAM by any means. This is pretty inexpensive RAM. This is, what is this? Actually, I think this is Corsair in this system. I'd have to pull it apart and look. I think my DDR4 RAM is actually Corsair. But still, it's like 2400 speed. Anyway, I didn't expect this. And I don't talk down to you guys, alright? I'm not a know-it-all. I don't know everything. I'm not, and I don't want to pretend to be that way. Honestly, I've had to unfollow some YouTubers recently and unsubscribe from their channels because they act like know-it-alls and they talk down to their audience, and when their audience asks them questions, they berate their audience and they mock their audience. And these behaviors that I'm describing, I'm not going to name who these people are, but I think you could guess. I think you could guess there are YouTubers who mock their audience, and I don't think that's okay, right? I respect you guys. I respect you guys enough that once I realized that I was wrong, that the RX 480 does not play the game at a perfect, I say perfect, but at a mostly 60 FPS experience, almost perfect experience for everybody. Once I realized that, I did that second video. And then when I did that second video, I was like, why is it performing so much worse? And I didn't have an answer for that. So you know what I did? I made that video where I said to you guys, look, I don't know why this is happening, but this is what's happening. Plays fine on one system, doesn't play fine on these other two. And then I gave it to you guys and I said, how's it playing for you? Because I respect you, okay? I'm not here to talk down to you. And luckily, one of the viewers said, hey, Skylake performs better. So I went back and I tried this system again. And what do you know? Skylake performs better. They were right. Now, why is that? I don't know. So let me know, guys, if you have a Skylake i5, let me know how the game's playing for you. All right. Because I'm probably going to have to build a Skylake i5 system now. And this gets messy, right? Like, I would have to build a 6th testing system for these outside weird scenario cases. And that's not cheap. This channel does not... In 1 month, I don't even make enough money to buy a processor, right? But, so, I'm going to have to build a system just to test this stuff. It's an ordeal. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know how it plays for you regardless of your system. If you got an RX 480, let us know in the comments how it's playing for you. Again, for me, a non-overclock 6700, it's a pretty good experience. Ultra 1080p, ultra preset 1080p. You can count on 1080p 60. Now, it fluctuates so much that, like, if you uncap it, I wouldn't even say that you could count on it. Because people like to do average FPS. Now, think about this. If I did average FPS, then you saw when I was walking around outside of Diamond City, it's getting 60 FPS when I look in one direction. It's getting 100 FPS when I look in another. So what is the average, right? Well, I could say the average is like 70, 80. I don't know. I'm not going to do the math right now. Probably around 70 frames per second. And the thing is that wouldn't, you know, make it clear that, by the way, when you're walking in one direction, you're getting 60 FPS, and when you're walking in another, you get 100 FPS. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like average frames per second. The thing is people love average frames per second, and that's what gets all the views on the internet. Like, that's what people want to see. People tell me, like, AI, your videos are too long, and I just want the average FPS. And the thing is, if I gave you the average FPS, then when you go to play the game, and if I told you it averaged 70 FPS, there's going to be a lot of times where the game's going at, you know, 55 to 60 FPS. A lot of times. Meanwhile, there's going to be a lot of times where it goes 100 to even 140 FPS. So, I don't like average FPS for that reason. You know, I would rather take the time to show you how it plays. Alright? That's what I do. Anyway, I know it's a long video like usual, but that's where we're at. Let us know how the game plays for you. Unfortunately, if you are an AMD user, you probably already know this, but Fallout 4, not a super consistent experience. And it's because it's a GameWorks title and because it's a Bethesda title, so it's like a double whammy. AMD users get it on both of those fronts, and I don't think that's very cool. I'm not a fan of GameWorks, but that's what it is. So let us know how it performs for you. Thanks for watching, guys. I really do love you. I really do appreciate you. And believe me, I've put in so much time and work and effort to test games for you, right? Because not everybody is able to use all this different hardware. And in case you don't know, I've got two RX 480s. I'll be doing crossfire testing soon. I have two RX 480s. I've got all the processors I told you about, but if you skip past that, I have a 4690 K, a 4790, a 6700, and a 6700K, and then an FX 6300. So I have those 5 platforms, and then I've got a ton of graphics cards, more than a dozen, alright? GTX 960, 2GB and 4GB, the 970, the 980 Ti, I've got 2 of those. I've got the 1060, I've got 4 1070s, it's a long story on that one. I've got a 1080, a really good 1080 that overclocks really well. The R9 390, the 390X, the 380, and then my 2 480s. So some of them are repeats, right? I said I've got more than a dozen physical cards. There are some repeats. There's 4 of the 1070s, 2 of the 960s, 2 of the 980 Ti's, 2 of the 480s, and then even the 390 and 390X, they're not that different. But, you know, I do that so I can do SLI and so I can do crossfire. And then I do that for comparisons, right? I did the 2GB 960 and the 4GB 960. I did a water-cooled 980 Ti and I did an air-cooled 980 Ti. I mean, there's a reason why there's these duplicates, but then I can still do SLI and crossfire also, so that is a benefit. Anyway, all this came out of my own pocket, all right? And this channel stands a chance to never make that back. So I don't do it for the money, I don't do it for the fame, I do it for the community, because I got tired of the fact that all the power is in the hands of these guys that are getting all these free computer components and these free games, and then they don't even really test the games properly, which is its own video. All right, these guys, they run the canned benchmark in a game, all right, most of the time. And then if they do go into the game and test it, they test the first couple of levels. And in case you haven't noticed over the last year, the first couple of levels normally perform better, right? Rise of the Tomb Raiders, first few levels play way better than when you get to the open hubs, right? Grand Theft Auto 5, even if you play, I've seen these YouTubers and they'll go to the first mission where TJ can drive the car, or whatever his name is. I haven't played the game in so long. The story mode anyway. Anyway, when dude gets to drive the car for the first time in Grand Theft Auto 5, that section, even though you're driving open world, always has a better frame rate than when you're really playing the game. So I have save files throughout that game in very specific spots that I know tax the hardware. Anyway, point being, there's a lot of half-ass testing going on, and then there are people who are reluctant to tell you how the hardware really performs because they're getting it for free. And I've seen some tides turning in that. Now, I've made dozens of videos that have had tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of views, where I've made this point, and all of a sudden you're seeing some of the YouTubers talk about, like, oh, they're going to spend their own money on the hardware now. Well, even if they are, I mean, it's about time, right? Anyway, I do this for the community, right? I do this for the community. That's why I'm doing it. That's why it's 1:30 in the morning and I'm talking about Fallout 4 with an RX 480. That's why I'm doing it. Someone's got to. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you do appreciate it, because I do appreciate you. And sorry that the video is so long. I really will edit the videos at some point. It's probably going to have to be after Christmas. I spent all my money on buying the hardware to test. And then I need to get my editing situation worked out. So editing and better cameras and better all that is going to come in 2017. After Christmas, because again, it's November right now. So thanks for watching, guys. If you watched this long, then you're awesome. I just saluted you. You couldn't see that because I'm behind the camera. Thanks for watching again. Have yourselves an excellent night.